Hello there. I just want to be able to see the YouTube chat also. Not that one, this one. The wrong one. I want to be on this one. Please, man. There we go. This one. Hey, finally.
Nice to meet you. I'm Toki.
Toki. Yo, I got a fright, Toki. Calm down. Oh, and then give me a second. I'm just quickly just setting up things. Creative. Here we go. Aha. Okay, there we go. I'm here. Hello, hello, hello. We're gonna watch this video. Woohoo. While I do some art. Just why? Because I can. Just that's why. Error duplicate stream key. What do you mean duplicate stream key? Why is this one not working? Let me just quickly see something. There we go. There we go. Sweet, sweet. But it is live, so you need to show me the chat. You silly Billy. Show me the chat. Oh, really? It says no. Oh well. Oh well. See, is everything okay? Does it look like my stream is working? It looks like it. Sweet.
Now, we all love animals. They're after all integral to the ecosystem and by extension our well-being. From the food on our plate to the collared little rascal that's halfway up your wall riddled with the zoomies. Point being, we love animals. But today's little yarn is of an animal who doesn't like us very much. His favourite pastime is rocking up to an island community, milling around and being an absolute nuisance to everyone on purpose. While being a big fat chungus.
Think it's okay?
This eventually gained him the status of an internet micro-celebrity and he hopped his way into the hearts of an entire country. I know, he's just like me. But not really, we're actually quite different. Because for one, I'm not Australian. Nor am I a micro-celebrity. Frankly, I'm not that famous. But that's enough about me. What is the name of this Antipodean Adonis? His name is Neil. Neil the Seal.
Neil the seal. No way. That's brilliant. Neil the seal. I love that. Neil the seal. I wonder if I can put on.
Please leave a like and a comment on this video because it really helps me in the algorithm.
I like that.
There. It's a beautiful time of year, isn't it? How I love it so. The birds are chirping and the flowers are blooming once more as the cold finally leaves. It's good to just lay back in the encroaching sun and take in the whimsy and serenity of springtime. Nothing could possibly make this better, except the presence of a certain someone.
Who's that? Who might that be?
That's right, he's back to rescue you from that one bad habit that's been harassing you for far too long. My dearest hubby, my Pookie Bear stud munchkin. Fume. Fume is the gold standard flavoured air device.
I'm actually curious to know if that works.
And blazing trail,
Very
managing
curious.
to attain the status of premier without any need for such things as electricity or vapour. He likes to keep things simple after all. With an exquisitely forged wooden chassis, you can suck him dry whilst being able to caress the shaft, which controls how much flavour hits your throat, with an ingeniously designed airflow valve that satisfyingly clicks with every tug, twist and tease. But hey, he's more than just a good suck. What about the flavours? Well, I'm very glad I made you ask, because Fume has an incredibly tasteful and varied catalogue for you to choose from crisp mint to orange vanilla. I can assure you there is a taste profile perfectly suited for your cultured tastes. What's that? You want to know my preferred flavour? Well, I'm part of Team Black Licorice. I've been waking up every morning proudly blacked, and let's just say, ever since Fume entered my life and something else, I've been able to finally control my urges, and now my staff don't have to fear any more incidents with lipstick. Thank you, Fume. I love you so much, Fume. Please return my calls. So you can grab that old vape and make it beg for mercy, because Fume is here, and it should fear the afterlife. So, if you want to get in this action and finally vanquish that one bad habit, you need only scan the QR code on the screen or go to tryfume.com/dankula to get your free topper when you order a journey pack. Again, scan the QR code on the screen or go to tryfume.com/dankula for a free topper when you order your journey pack. Now sadly, back to the video. Look, all of the videos lately have been extremely depressing or absolutely schizophrenic, so I just wanted a nice little fun one to do to cheer me up and give the channel a little bit of, levity. But anyway, Tasmania, the Apple Island. That little dingly bit off the coast of Australia. Not the other one. The place where the devils are. You all at least kinda know of it. Well, in their capital of Hobart in July, in the year of our Lord 2022, locals were met with an outsider, an interloper. This foreign face was unlike that of the usual sort that you would get visiting the small and scenic island community. For you see, instead of a fat mainlander coming to look at the Tasmanian brush and mill around under the guise of returning to nature, it was instead a fat 2-year-old milling around. Well, that's not quite the whole picture, as despite being a 2-year-old, it was not a baby. It was instead a weird fucked up dog thing who was just humping around the streets, being an absolute nuisance. Meet Neil, a chipper and chonky southern elephant seal that for the last few years has been making the streets and shores of Tasmania his new stomping ground, bedazzling the local Tasmanians by being a big blubbery butterball who lies right in the middle of the fucking road, blocking traffic and causing traffic jams, and also humping traffic cones as a hobby. What is particularly noteworthy about Neil, other than being an elephant seal, was his acclamation to humans, being weirdly willing to approach the landlubbers and also be approached in kind, soy-facing and honking with glee at the offering of his beloved traffic cones. Naturally, due to his presence being surprisingly enough quite unusual, Neil quickly became something of a local celebrity, inevitably upgrading to international celebrity when said locals took their phones out to film the cookie bugger just chilling in the middle of the pavement, looking simultaneously uncomfortable yet also completely zen. Though that was during the day, because by night, like a gremlin, he would become a mischievous little shit, doing a spot of trolling alongside his usual shtick. Because he actually ended up scaring the absolute daylights out of one Amber Harris, who thought a person was trying to break into her car at 6 in the morning. But it was actually just Neil trying to fuck her car. Yes, really.
No way!
Then afterwards he tuckered himself out and he fell asleep right in front of it. Really needs to work on his stamina. The funny thing was that even when news cameras showed up to interview her about her experience, the fat bastard was still there, lying right next to her car and fucking sleeping like a maritime
Nice to meet you.
Snorlax.
I'm
And
Toppy.
because he was blocking her car, she actually couldn't go to work that day or even leave her house until an offering of media exposure was given unto him. Like a true blue influencer. Now, a couple of questions are probably burning in your mind. For one, no, you can't deadlift him. Because this fucking blimp weighs around 600 kilograms. Or, in layman's terms, 100 kilograms heavier than that one weight that made Eddie Hall go Super Saiyan and also have an aneurysm. And yes, you are built different from Big Ed. That is true. But when it comes to shifting that sort of weight, you are almost definitely inferior. Now for the other question. Why? Why in God's name is there a random elephant seal just fanning around in people's front gardens, being weirdly friendly and well acclimated to people alongside, not hanging out in or near water? The sort of place where you'd actually expect to find a fucking elephant seal. Well, the main reason that Neil has come landside is to haul out. This is a thing that elephant seals do that essentially consists of them coming up to the shore for a few weeks, where they then rest, they get some seal pussy, they give birth, and most importantly, they molt. Yeah, they think that the main reason that Neil has come so far inland and why he's humping traffic cones and smearing himself along the sides of fences and cars is because he's trying to scrape the obsolete skin off of his body. And probably feel blissful relief in the process. I know, I only just found out they do that myself. But at least there is a natural reason for Neil's presence in Tasmania. However, as for why he's a lot more sociable than me, and he seems to not have a problem being near humans, I genuinely have no clue. And neither do the sealologists or whatever the fuck they're called. But here's the thing, not only is he not supposed to be this friendly and approachable, but we're not supposed to be either. That sounded wrong. Let me explain. You see, eventually the local hippy-dippy buzzkills that we all collectively call marine biologists from the Department of Natural Resources and Environment forgot to give their consent to Neil and the local Tasmanians having a chill Aboriginal nap. Their reasoning was that it was a risk to the health and well-being of both Neil and the locals. Despite being massive losers who all clearly enjoyed the Grinch movies for all the wrong reasons, they did have somewhat of a point. See, despite the fact that he is a chill guy, Neil is still a young elephant seal who weighs over half a metric ton. And as such, if he were to get spooked by people getting too close to him, things could very, very quickly turn very, very bad. Look, I get that he seems friendly. I get that he looks like a great big chunky cutie patootie, but at the end of the day, that is 600 kilograms of wild animal that will fucking kill you if it feels threatened. And that's not even getting into the potential diseases that humans could maybe pass on to him. So when there were reports of people waddling up to him to get a selfie with him and prodding him and even throwing things at him, it's honestly fair enough that they had to get involved. Even despite being massive busybodies, the community themselves also stepped up and tried to promote a minimum safe distance of 10 metres. But you know, with bad actors and people's dogs being a little bit too excitable, that was all for naught. So, of course, when the state steps in to be stately about things, including giving out fines for anyone who goes near him or tries to appease him with his favourite traffic cones, it ended up being a harsh measure that did little more than Streisand affect Neil into even bigger stardom. So, eventually, the government basically went, fuck it, and moved Neil to a secluded stretch of beach where he would be able to molt, mould and malinger in peace. Away from the public, and most importantly, away from people's fences, cars, and traffic cones. So, where is he now? Well, he's a SEAL, so I've got no fucking idea. I'm not his dad. However, apparently he's being tracked by the Department of Natural Resources and Environment to make sure he doesn't veer too close to Hobart again. They put the fucking SEAL on parole. He's on a tag. So, why did I make this video? Well, simply put, I saw the videos of Neil and I thought that it was a fascinating look at how, out of the blue, some random backstreets in Tasmania became host to a 600 kilogram elephant seal, and people were not only just kind of fine with it, but they also turned around and embraced him beyond an opportunity for just a quick selfie. He has actual fans who run social media accounts as him, including a TikTok with 214,000 followers.
What? Neil the Seal
Extremely cringe behaviour.
What the fuck?
However,
I'm
it
done.
does show how quickly and how passionately he was adopted into said community as a weird mascot of sorts. I'm also on TikTok now, by the way. I know, I'm sorry. Also, to be quite honest, I'm frankly kinda jealous of him. He's literally living my dream. I wish I was able to just sleep all day and
Even
scream
me.
at people.
Even me, dude.
I wish
Even
people
me.
would just
Even
give
me,
me
bro.
random pieces of plastic
Jeez.
for me to dry hump until it breaks. Neil is my spirit animal. I wish I was him. That should have been me.
Thank you on YouTube. Everybody's just...
This is Matthew, a little green fish. Oh, that's not him? Well, where is he? Oh, now I see him. Wait, are you sure that's a fish? Matthew is a batfish in the family Ogcasophilidae. He's a bit of a rebel. Certainly doesn't care what you expect a fish to be. Matthew is highly adapted for a benthic lifestyle, meaning that he lives on the floor of the sea, not on the roof like a duck do.
Like a duck
There
do.
he is. That's his face. From time to time, Matthew likes to take a little stroll. Underneath, he has two pelvic fins that prop him up. On the sides, highly modified pectoral fins have evolved to almost resemble little legs or arms. Used together, what the heck was that? Go back, I want to see it again. Wait for it. Oh! That makes me want to vomit and put my finger in it. Two feelings, same time. What may look like a literal interpretation of the word armpit is actually Matthew's gill. His skin is covered in little cones and pyramids. These tubercles and bucklers are specialized scales made of keratin and calcium. They form a kind of flexible armor, kind of like if you bedazzled yourself with bits of fingernail and teeth. Little frilly hair-like clusters of skin called dermal cirri poke out here and there. All of this helps Matthew disguise himself as a harmless piece of sea garbage that can walk. It's not perfect. Ogcasophilidae are in the order Laphiiformis, which makes Matthew an anglerfish and an ambush hunter. He has a little fishing pole that... There it is. It's crazy. This Elysium has evolved from a single ray of his dorsal fin. and it pops out right around where you'd think his nose would be. Like the movie Alien, but a different orifice. Most anglerfish, like this frogfish, lure their prey visually, using movement or light. Batfish, however, eat things that don't see very well, like worms and snails and stupid clams. Slurp? So a visual lure would be a bit
Clams
like
are so
waving a
stupid.
tip at a blindfolded bull. Instead, it seems to use a chemical lure, releasing fluids from its esca, that little bulb on the end of its elysium. That fluid seems to attract things like snails and brings them to the surface. However, if you eat shelled things, you have to make sure that your mouth isn't too big for your rectum. Batfish will often get a bit stopped up. It's a delicate balance. You have a mouth the same size as your rectum and you're eating out of a straw. Too big and you've got a log jam. Batfish aren't the best swimmers. It looks a bit like if your arms were tied to your side and you were thrown off a bridge. But you could still kind of flap your hands. However, when they spawn, they will swim up and release a little mucus raft for their babies. There are nearly 70 known species of batfish, and most look a bit like the bottom half of a kangaroo that was flattened by a truck. However, you may have also noticed that they all look very pissed off. You try putting on your lipstick with no mirror and no hands. Even little Wendy's pissed off.
Angry.
She weighed herself on the bathroom scale, then had a good toilet and weighed herself again. No change. How does that even happen? But the main reason that batfish are pissed off is because they're called batfish. They've spent a long time trying not to look like anything you'd recognize, let alone a bat. Why don't you just call a bat a fish bird? That's what they say. And what makes matters worse is there's other fish called batfish too. Here's one, Platax pinnatus, also called a batfish. Alright, when they're juveniles I kind of see it. But really what they're trying to look like is the flatworm Pseudobiceras hancocknus, and no, I'm not going to slow that word down so you can spell it, perv. In any case, they're trying to resemble not a bat, but a flatworm that does something that even researchers refer to as penis fencing. Not kidding. Platax orbicularis, also called a batfish, tries to resemble a dead leaf when it's a baby. And when they grow up, you know what they do? They follow turtles around and eat the little dancing ballerinas that come out the backside. You know, the turtles. Again, not kidding. Meanwhile, the bats are like, I don't want that fish named after me, and the turtles have a lot of explaining to do when they show up at a party. Oh, hey, Jim, I see you brought a friend. No, he's not really my friend. Nonsense, I see you guys hanging around all the time.
No worries.
What's
Hello
your name,
there.
son?
Hello, Archie.
Join.
Listen, I'm gonna restart this video.
This
This is just
the name.
hilarious.
Dactylopterus volitans is related to the
You gotta come with me on this ride of the
This is
batfish.
Matthew, a little green fish. Oh, that's not him? Well, where is he? Oh, now I see him. Wait, are you sure that's a fish? Matthew is a batfish in
I
the
haven't been
family
here too long, though.
Onchocephalidae. He's a bit of a rebel. Certainly doesn't care what you expect a fish to be. Matthew is highly adapted for a benthic lifestyle, meaning that he lives on the floor of the sea, not on the roof like a duck do.
Not on the roof like a duck
There he is.
do.
That's his face. From time to time,
Aw.
Matthew likes to take a little stroll. Underneath, he has 2 pelvic fins that prop him up. On the sides, highly modified pectoral fins have evolved to almost resemble little legs or
But at least they're
arms.
on now.
Fused together. What the heck was that? Go back. I want to see it again.
Yeah, even me.
Wait for it. Oh,
What the fuck is that?
that makes me want to vomit. And
Yeah.
put my finger in it. Talking at the same time. What may look like a literal interpretation of the word armpit is actually Matthew's gill. His skin is covered in little cones and pyramids. These
You know this
tubercles
thing?
and bucklers are
No
specialized
way.
scales made of keratin and calcium. They
Yes,
form
it's a
kind
fish's
of
feet.
flexible armor, kind of like if you bedazzled yourself with bits of fingernail and teeth.
I
Little
can't
free
handle
hair-like
the way it
clusters of
looks,
skin
the
called
porphyria-
dermal cilia poke out here and there.
Porphyrophobia,
All this
whatever.
helps Matthew
Ugh.
disguise himself as a harmless piece of
Yes.
sea garbage.
Walk around on the
Can
ocean
walk.
floor.
It's
Look.
not perfect.
There, it's not
Onchocephalidae
perfect. You
are
can
in
walk.
the order Laphurophilus, which makes Matthew an anglerfish and an ambush hunter. He has
Ah.
a little fishing pole.
Yes.
that- there it is. It's crazy. This Elysium.
He has a little-
Whoa. This Elysium
Yes,
has
it's-
evolved from a single ray of his dorsal
How
fin.
cool is that
And it
thing?
pops out right around where you'd think his nose would be. Like the movie Alien, but a different orifice. Most anglerfish, like this frogfish, lure their prey visually,
Nice to
using
meet you.
movement or light.
I'm Toki.
Batfish, however, eat things that don't see very well, like worms and snails and stupid clams.
Stupid
So
clowns are so
visual
stupid.
lure would be a bit like waving a cape at a blindfolded bull. Instead, it seems to use a chemical lure, releasing fluids from its esca, that little bulb on the end of its elysium. That fluid seems to attract things like snails and brings them to the surface. However, if you eat shelled things, you have to make sure that your mouth isn't too big for your rectum. Batfish will often get a bit stuffed up. It's a delicate balance. You have a mouth the same size as your rectum and you're eating out of a straw. Too big and you've got a log jam. The best swimmers. It's a bit like if your arms were tied to your side and you were thrown off a bridge. But you could still kind of flap your hands. However, when they spawn, they will swim up and release a little mucus raft for their babies. There are nearly 70 known species of batfish, and most look a bit like the bottom half of a kangaroo that was flattened by a truck. However, you may have also noticed that they all look very pissed off. You try putting on your lipstick with no mirror. Even little Wendy's pissed off. She weighed herself on the bathroom scale, then had a good toilet and weighed herself again. No change. How did that happen? But the main reason that batfish are pissed off is because they're called batfish. They spend a long time trying not to look like anything you'd recognize, let alone a bat. Why don't you just call a bat a fish bird? That's what they say. Fish bird. There's other fish called batfish too. Here's one, Platax pinnatus, also called a batfish. Alright, when they're juveniles, I kind of see it. But really, what they're trying to look like is the flatworm Pseudobiceras hancocknus, and no, I'm not going to slow that word down so you can spell it, perv. In any case, they're trying to resemble not a bat, but a flatworm that does something that even researchers refer to as penis fencing. Not kidding. Platax orbicularis, also called a batfish, tries to resemble a dead leaf when it's a baby. And when they grow up, you know what they do? They follow turtles around and eat the little dancing ballerinas that come out the backside. You know, the turtles. Again, not kidding. Meanwhile, the bats are like, I don't want that fish named after me, and the turtles have a lot of explaining to do when they show up at a party. Oh, hey, Jim, I see you brought a friend. No, he's not really my friend. Nonsense, I see you guys panning around all the time. What's your name, son? Sorry, one sec. Chewing. There is one sometimes called batfish that might deserve the name. Dactylopterus volitans is related to the seahorse, but often gets lumped in with the sea robins because they fight crime together. Duh. Sea robins are Bernards. Think Bernard, but not as chilly and a little more mad. And that's a good team right there. The batfish
this one,
the sea robin can handle all the tickling.
Well, I mean, that one can tickle you. It can tickle the ocean floor.
Someone who can handle the tickling or swim up and fart out a mucus raft with you. If you're just following someone around and eating their crap all day, you get out of that relationship. You're better than that. And scientists, you need to stop getting drunk when you name fish.
How good was that? Wasn't that brilliant? Love it. That was so good. So good.
Today, we have a special bonus video for you guys. It is a collection of 5 horrifying stories.
You can feel free to add some videos if you have interesting videos to suggest. I just added random things for my...
It's going to feel like a brand new
please feel free to show me some videos.
We've already done a
that would be
part 1
awesome.
of this type of collection of stories, the forest/camping vibes, and people loved it. So this is part 2. If you want part 1, it'll be posted at the end of this video, and it's also in the description below. But before we get into today's 5 stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's of interest to you, please change the like button's ringtone to fart sounds, and then call them repeatedly when they're in church. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's stories. In
In the summer of 2013, a young woman named Katie and her father decided to go camping at one of their favorite campgrounds in the Sierra Nevada mountain range. Katie loved going camping with her father because he was this totally accomplished outdoorsman, and he used to be a wilderness guide for much of his life, and so she just always felt like she was in great hands whenever she was out in the wild with him, and she had kind of become a fairly accomplished outdoorswoman herself. When they arrived at the campground, the parking lot was packed with cars, and they're like, shoot, I wish we'd called ahead a couple weeks ago and reserved a site because they're probably not even available now. But they went to the front desk and they were like, you're in luck, we have one available, but it's the one that's way over there. It was this one campsite that was kind of isolated from the rest of the campground. It was far away from the bathhouse, it was far away from where you go swimming, and it was far away from the parking lot. It was just like really inconvenient. And whenever they came camping here, it was like the one site they didn't want to use. But beggars can't be choosers. They were happy to even have a site, and so they drove all the way down this little road into this very isolated campsite, kind of in the middle of this forest. Once they got there, they began setting up their respective tents because they were not going to be staying in the same tent. They each had these very small backpacking tents, which were so small that you could either zip it up all the way and stay warmer and more protected, but you had to sleep in a ball because your legs would not fit otherwise. Or you could unzip the front of your tent, and when you lay down, you could extend your legs fully, but
I know those. We used to go to Oppie Koppie with
those. You can only
those.
do that in warmer
Two
weather,
people can
and
sleep
you were
in there.
comfortable having someone poking around over it. After they set up their tents and they get their cooler set up and they have all their stuff kind of the way they want it, they go out hiking for the rest of the day. When they come back, they're totally exhausted, they fall asleep, and nothing of note occurs over that first night. The next day they get up, they go back out, they go hiking all day all over again, and they come back that night and they are totally exhausted again. And they get into their tents and they go to bed. And this night, something of note would happen. At about 3 a.m., Katie wakes up and she hears footsteps walking towards the campsite from a little ways off. They're in the woods somewhere. And she's thinking, okay,
Bigfoot.
It's gotta be my father because he's
Bigfoot.
diabetic and every night he gets up to go to the bathroom maybe 3-4 times. And he
Bigfoot.
probably was just walking to the bathhouse and now he's walking back. But she realizes the bathhouse is over here, not over here.
Bigfoot.
So what is he doing walking
Bigfoot.
towards the campsite from this side? The footsteps come out of the tree line, they come into the clearing that is their campsite, and they stop about 2-3 meters outside of Katie's tent. Now, there were no windows on Katie's backpack tent. There was just little vents at the front and the back that kind of pointed down, and so she couldn't see out anyways, and there was no illumination out, so you can't even pick up a silhouette. It's just total darkness out there. She can't see who's out there. She can only hear them. But she's thinking, okay, maybe my dad got lost coming back from the bathhouse because he didn't have a flashlight and he walked too far. That's possible. Or, you know, he could have decided to relieve himself just in the tree line, even though he's not known to do that. He's a guy that goes to the bathhouse. And so she's running through these scenarios that are convincing her that, oh, that's just my dad. But what she really wants to hear is that person walk away from her tent and get into her father's tent, because that will confirm in her mind that that was her father. And so she's sitting here waiting for that confirmation, and she hears the footsteps again, but instead of walking around her tent to her father's tent, this person walks right up against her tent very quickly, and they clearly begin leaning over her little tiny tent because she can hear them breathing right above her. And this is when she realizes, that's not my dad. And as she's having this terrible revelation that some stranger is outside her tent now, she has an even worse revelation. It was a warm night that night, so she was sleeping with her tent unzipped and her legs poking out the end. She musters the courage to begin slowly retracting her legs back inside of her tent. But before she's able to do that, this person stands up, turns, and starts walking towards the base of her tent where her legs are. She's completely frozen and terrified about what's about to happen. But this person doesn't stop at her feet. They keep moving and in fact start circling her tent. But because they were making a lot of noise and walking around her, it allowed her to pull her legs back into her tent without, this person hearing her. And so she had the illusion of safety being inside of her tent, but her tent is still unzipped. So she's waiting for this person to come around and crouch down and look inside of her tent because it's open. And so she's just looking down there hoping that doesn't happen. But unfortunately, right at this moment, the person walked to the base of her tent and came to a stop.
I also think
right
it's a bear.
outside where the opening to the tent is. And
Also
so
think
she's sitting
so.
there thinking, please don't come in here, please don't come in here, please don't come in here. And even though her feet are
I
pulled up into
concur.
her tent, she suddenly
Bear.
feels something pinch her foot. And she knows
Immediately thought
it's
so.
a hand. Something has grabbed my foot. And she stifles a scream and she starts shaking uncontrollably because her instincts are telling her, don't let this person know you're awake. And luckily, as she's sitting there shaking from fear and trying to be quiet as best as she can, she's holding her mouth. This person stands back up again and goes back to the spot next to her tent and leans over the tent once again, and she can hear them breathing
How is
right over
everyone?
her. And so for several minutes, she lay there shaking with this random person who pinched her foot a minute ago, hovering over her tent in the middle of the night. And she has nothing she can do. And she's just quiet. She's hoping it's going to end soon. And eventually this person would turn around and walk over to their cooler and their table and some other things that were out. And she hears some rummaging going on. Some things are being moved around. And then this person just kind of walks off into the distance. But she doesn't know if they're gone. She doesn't know if they're standing in the edge of the tree line waiting for her to come outside. Maybe they laid a trap for her. And so she just lays there, silent, doesn't move, and she's praying to herself, please don't let anything happen to me or my father. And all night she's just laying there. And
He
then
tells it,
eventually
he has a good way of
Probably
stretching
hours
the
go by,
story,
and
eh?
She does fall asleep because she wakes up again when she hears her father unzipping his tent, and she charges out to meet him. And she can tell right away that he's scared. And before she can even say or begin to describe what's happened to her, he says, were you outside your tent last night at about 2, 3 in the morning? Because I heard all sorts of commotion near our cooler. I wasn't sure if it was an animal. I wasn't sure if it was you. And she starts telling him, no, this is what happened to me. And as she's describing what happened to her, he looks behind her at the picnic table, which was next to their cooler, and they had their backpacks on it. Basically anything that didn't fit in their tents they kept near this picnic table. And he points at it, and she turns around, and any item that was in the cooler or in their backpacks or that was just out has been stacked in a pyramid formation.
Oh no,
on this
not a
table.
bear.
Clearly, the guy who was here last night did this.
Oh,
For some
no, not a
reason we don't
bear.
understand. And
What
as
do you
they go
say
over to look
now?
at it to see if anything's been taken, they notice
How
this
the
track
fuck?
of footprints.
Yeah, I don't know
With
how
these
the fuck
heavy
she
footprints
fell
that have been
asleep
going
again.
around
Sorry for
and
screaming.
around Katie's
I'm gonna
tent.
fix the
So she
audio
clearly
in
wasn't
a
imagining.
second.
And so that instant, they packed everything up, got in their car, and they left. And to this day, they can barely talk about it with each other because it's all the things that could have happened. The father felt horribly guilty because he clearly heard this person but didn't leave his tent. And his daughter was clearly in danger. And his daughter's thinking, the tent was open. This person was crouched down, reaching into my tent, grabbing my feet. Like, that's such a
Maybe it's a
horrifying
bear
image.
from a circus.
And so this has been completely traumatizing
Maybe it's a
for them,
circus
and they just
bear.
don't talk about it anymore.
Maybe it's a
We have
circus
a
bear.
brand new show, a history podcast. But wait, it's not like a boring history show. This is
No, we
not
don't
like
care,
just
Mr. Bourne.
episodes.
Leave us alone.
Campsite.
Tell
But
us,
there's a
tell
tent,
us story.
a campsite. And they make it a campsite.
No,
It's
campsite,
just episode one.
campsite.
So this new history
I don't
podcast
know.
is called A Twist
Pause
of History,
first.
and it's
I don't know. I feel like maybe not a bear, but maybe like I don't know, like an armadillo or a pangolin or something. Maybe a bear from that was trained. Maybe it's a cyber bear. Maybe it was Bigfoot. Maybe it's Maybelline. Maybe maybe she's born with it. I don't know. But that was quite interesting. I just quickly want to shift the mic closer to myself, and I'm gonna turn the volume a little bit down, and then I want to go get my earphones, and then we'll put the overlay sound back on because it's very loud in here to have it play on and then I have to shout. Give me 1 minute. I just want to get my earphone. I've been charging them so that I can use them. Here we go. Become connected over here. I'm gonna have to disable and re-enable the. I mean, just put my earphones on. Sorry, man, for the break, but I realized while we were watching, I didn't want to stop the story in the middle, so. Oh, that's better. And then let me just see The right audio is selected now. Oh, I must put my glasses on. I can't see shit. There we go. Yes. That's better. Let's see.
Live right now.
Yes.
So go to any platform where you get
There
your
we go.
podcasts and look up A Twist of History, or just search for Ballin Studios and you can find it that way. You know, follow the show and
There
tune
we
in each
go.
week. And if you really want to, give us a 5-star review. The show is totally free.
the audio
New
good?
episodes every Wednesday.
Am I louder? I should be. Ooh. Something fell. Let me just pick it up.
In 2015, an experienced outdoorsman named Bob, along with his wife, his young daughter, and their 2 German shepherds, decided to go camping in a remote part of northern Oregon. When they arrived at the site, Bob began setting up the big family tent for everyone to sleep in, and his daughter said, "Hey, do you mind if I sleep in the spare 2-man tent that we always bring with us?"
God.
Bob and his wife deliberated for a minute, but said, "You know what, that's fine, but you gotta bring Guts."
Ah,
That's
too
one of
loud
the
versus
German
me.
shepherds. Guts needs to sleep with you because he's gonna be your protection. So
Guys,
that
that better?
night, s'mores around the campfire. Bob's daughter, along with Guts, retreat to their 2-man tent, and Bob, his wife,
Oh,
and
God.
other
Cool
dogs retreat to
beans.
their tent. That night, Bob wakes up suddenly to what sounds like footsteps outside of his tent.
Cool
He looks to the
beans.
side, and his wife is still in the tent with him, and so is Leah, the other dog. And he listens really closely, and he can hear his daughter is snoring, and he can hear the sound of Guts breathing. So his whole family is accounted for, but he still hears these footsteps. And they don't sound like light little scampering sounds like you might expect from a squirrel or some small critter. They sound heavy, like a big creature is roaming around their campsite. But Bob's dogs are really keyed in to protecting their family, and since Guts and Leah are not up going crazy about whatever's out there, he figures, you know what, it's
I
gonna
must
be
finish
an
that
elk or
dot.
something, and it's not going to do anything to us. So Bob ultimately just goes back to sleep. The next morning, Bob gets up, and everybody's just fine. There's no sign of any intruders in their campsite. And so that only confirms to him that, yup, it was just some harmless...
Oh no. Is it too soft now?
They decided to
Okay.
go for a walk down the road that was right next to their campsite.
I'll put it back
So
where
they
it
take
was.
the dogs, they start
There
walking,
you
and
go.
they make it a couple hundred feet down this road when all of a sudden Guts sees something or hears something and takes off sprinting down the road and turns down this little access road that branches off of the
Yo,
road
that's
they're
never a
on
good sign
into
when the
woods.
dog
And Bob is
starts
thinking,
running.
"Oh no, there's a campsite down there, and this big German shepherd's
Yeah,
gonna
I
bound
know, I
up
get
on them,
you.
and something bad's
I
gonna
get
happen."
you.
And so Bob, his heart's racing.
But thank
he
you,
starts
because
taking off
sometimes I
after
don't
Guts.
know.
He goes down the
And
access
you
road
know,
and he finds
what
Guts stopped
what
right
thing?
outside of a campsite. But there doesn't appear to be anybody in the campsite. But there's a tent, there's a cooler, there's a table, there's all the things you would expect.
'Cause there's lots of
at a
times that I
campsite,
don't
just no
notice.
people. So Bob runs up and he grabs Guts and he yells out reflexively, "Hey, I'm really sorry. He's totally harmless. I don't know what he saw. Hey, we're leaving." But then before he leaves, he realizes on the tent there's this big scratch through it, like it's been cut open. And curiosity gets the better of him. And so he kind of walks up, keeping an eye out in case he's wrong and there are people still here. But as he gets closer, he realizes there's definitely no one here. This site is abandoned. Because he's looking around and all of their stuff has just been ransacked. There's scratch marks on everything, like animals have clearly come through here. And Bob, who is an avid outdoorsman, he knows how much some of their equipment cost. And he's thinking, why would anyone abandon this really expensive tent or this really expensive cooler? And as he's thinking about that, he turns and he sees there's a propane tank, a solid metal propane tank that has been completely flattened. But there's no tree that's fallen nearby. There's no source. There's no way that could have been flattened. So he's definitely unsettled by this, but ultimately he decides, you know what? I'm gonna take my family, go back to my campsite. I'll just call the park rangers. They can come down here and they can figure out what this is. Later that afternoon, Bob and his family are back at their campsite just a couple hundred feet away from this abandoned campsite. And at one point, his wife gets up to go use the bathroom. She walks about 70 feet away behind a tree and she squats down, and then all of a sudden, she gets up and starts running back towards camp. And Bob sees this. He turns and sees her running towards him. At the same time, Guts gets up and starts sprinting towards her. And so Bob's thinking, what the heck is going on? Bob turns to his daughter and says, "Stay right here with Leah." And Bob gets up and starts running towards his wife. And Guts, at this point, has run to his wife and past his wife. Guts has run way into the woods. And as Bob is running up to his wife, he's like, what's going on? Why are you running? What's going on? And she says, I don't know. I just had this horrible feeling someone was watching me. And when I turned, I already saw Guts running towards me and it scared me. And so that's why I'm here. And he's like, look, go with our daughter and with Leah. I'm going to see what's going on. And so his wife leaves and Bob draws his pistol and he starts walking out towards where Guts has now stopped. Hair raised, growling, it's yapping and barking at something in front of it. And Bob's looking and he can't see anything. And finally, after not being able to figure out what the heck is going on, he just takes Guts and goes back to his campsite. When Bob got back to his campsite, he wanted to leave. And his wife wanted to leave. His daughter didn't really know what was going on, but the attitude was, we want to leave. However, it was getting late and they had a bunch of stuff they would need to pack up. And it was going to be a real ordeal trying to do that, especially without any light. So they decide, okay, we'll stay one more day and we're going to leave first thing in the morning. In Bob's head, he's thinking, okay, I heard weird footsteps outside. You know, we have this abandoned campsite nearby that's been thrashed up in the flattened propane tank. And now my wife is running away from something and Guts is seeing strange things in the woods. Like there's a lot of weird stuff going on. And he decides he's going to set up a tripwire all the way around his campsite using a rope tied at about 8 inches off the ground, where along the rope would be little pieces of metal that would clang together. So if anything touched the rope, it would make the metallic clinking sound, then it would alert Bob that someone's here. And so Bob goes over to the edge of the site where there's an obvious starting point for this tripwire, and he bends down to tie the rope, and he realizes, oh my God, someone's already done this. There is another tripwire that's already been built around the outside of our campsite. It's just been cut, it's been broken. Like it doesn't work, but it's here. Someone else who was at this campsite felt concerned enough about whatever was in the woods that they already had this. Bob didn't even tie his perimeter. He just drew his gun, told his family, get in the truck, and he stayed up all night protecting his family in the truck. As soon as the sun came up, they packed up and they got the heck out of there. Bob is convinced that there is something out there in the woods in northern Oregon that was walking around their campsite at night, that's scaring their dogs, that's stalking them basically and watching them from a distance. And probably whatever is out in the woods is the same thing that caused the previous group to set up their own tripwire.
Maybe more interesting.
And it's also probably the reason.
I like listening to the boring shit while I'm working because I don't really care. That's why I said, give me videos. I don't know what, but this one caught my attention.
I'm Joe. And I'm Oliver. And our company is Lux Collective. We buy and sell pre-loved luxury items. So we grew up in a place called Formby. And when we say that to people, they automatically assume, oh, you come from a lot of money.
I mean
but for me and Joe, that's far from it. One Christmas, my sister asked my mum for a pair of £400 trainers. £400. Why is my sister getting a pair of £400 trainers when our budget for Christmas is always £100?
Let me pause first.
So I went to my mum.
So I used to love that guy's stuff in the beginning because he had like really, really good stories. And then I feel like he started just taking Reddit stories and reading them in like his way. But I don't know. I feel like instead of putting out so many videos, we can rather maybe put out like one at a time, you know, one a month, and then have better quality. Perhaps. I don't know. That's just how I feel about it. But I still go back and check his stuff every now and then because, you know, you never know when things have changed. So there's the next one I'm working on. This one is mostly, like, it's just black and white. So I'm going to do some shading and some lining. I think I'm going to line it first and then I'll do the shading. Yeah. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I don't know, but like the first couple of videos, like when I found him, his shit was so good. He had such good stories. And now, I don't know. I feel like quality over quantity is my preference. Okay, let's see this, because you can read the title of this, right? You're clearly printing cash here. I haven't seen this one, so I'm curious.
And that's why my sister has a bigger budget than me. She told me they were from a second-hand online
give me a link to one of those
and
Rick and Jubal or Who and Jubal Bill and Jubal, you can give me a link to one of the ones that you feel like is good. And then I can, or you can just cue it. How you do it is you type, I'm going to make a space between the exclamation. Okay, well, just put an exclamation mark before this, but you just type song request and with an exclamation mark first. Then you can, then it'll cue it with your viewer points, I think.
Became obsessed
or
with
just
this
send
website.
the link and then I'll cue
But
it. Whatever.
I knew I could do it
Whatever
better.
works for you.
I knew I needed a business partner, so I knocked on my brother's bedroom, and it took him about 3 seconds to verbally sign the contract. So we started buying items off eBay and Depop. We'd clean them up and we'd sell them on Instagram for more. We've now amassed over 1.8 million followers, and last month alone, we got over 100 million views across our main 3 social media channels.
I'm sorry.
Since incorporation in December 2020, we have seen sales revenue exceed £8.5 million. We are here today to ask for
decline there at the end
for 2% equity share in our company.
What's it called, the company?
Trying to just get the
Collective.
camera to...
Lux
There we go. Be where I want to
Thanks
draw.
for listening. I'm going to pass you over to Ollie, who's going to give you a quick demo on how it works.
It'll
A rags to
stop
riches
shaking in a
tale
moment.
from brothers Ben and Joe Gallagher and their colleague Oliver Miller.
Basically, this is our website, and we drop stock every day of the week, and that can be anything from bags, footwear and accessories, or from the top designer brands.
Curious.
They're offering 2% of their designer goods resale platform in exchange for £100,000.
So that's more like the buying side of things, but obviously we do have customers who sell to us, so that's where all the stock originally comes from.
Sarah Davies is first up to find out more about the company.
Right, guys. So, is the business wholly owned by the 3 of you at the moment?
Yes, 100%.
And so, when you say you've done 8.5 million in sales to date,
Yeah.
I like
give
her
me the last
a
few
lot.
years since you launched.
So, in 21, we did 2.5 million in sales revenue and a net of 285k.
I feel like I need to put
In
this
year 2, 3.8
somewhere
million
there.
in revenue and a net of 255k. This year we're predicted and on track to do 6.5 million in revenue
Don't know how
and
to
do
turn it.
a net profit of 420k.
That is very impressive.
Thank you.
Very impressive.
Thank you.
Holy
You're
on.
clearly pretty passionate in terms of the profit of your
Yes.
business.
Holy on.
So you've come in to asking for 100k. Begs the question, why did you come here?
So, the next step for our business, we want to go into retail,
Gonna
like
smoke quickly.
your Selfridges, your
Yeah.
Harrods. We want to have a store in there.
Why?
There's a case study in America of a company very similar to us who've done the exact same thing, and I think they were on about $150 million of revenue in 2018. And 2019 they went into Neiman Marcus. Neiman Marcus is a store in America, and now they're at $500 million worth of revenue. So we want to basically do that in the UK.
So why do you want a dragon?
Because we do not know where to start at all with retail, of how to get in.
Oh, we're definitely watching this
Just
next.
thinking about your
oh my
strategy
goodness.
going into Selfridges
Oh my
or
goodness.
Harrods.
The latest. Oh
How does that
yes,
match
the
their
latest
strategy
dirty news.
Working with the brand.
Oh yes,
So,
Stephanie,
for example,
tell us.
you're now got a nice
The
store
dirty
in
stuff
store
is so
in Selfridges.
freaking good.
The brands obviously want to encourage the
I
sale
don't know
of new
if
product.
you probably don't know what's
Selfridges
going
make
on there, but
good money off the
my
back of that
God,
new
is it
product.
juicy. The
And
tea
then
is
you guys roll into
piping,
town
telling
to
you,
encourage their
piping.
customer not to buy that new product when they can buy the same product that somebody has discarded for half the price.
Yeah.
How do you think the brands, this is the specific question, how will the brands react to Selfridges for allowing you to be in that store?
So at the moment, Selfridges actually have their own thing called re-Selfridges, which, from my personal opinion and looking at it, is not very well done. So they are actively doing it.
Well, they're doing it on the back of working with the brands, aren't they? I can promise you they would have got authority and gone to the brands that they work with and
Yeah, of
said, this is
course.
our pre-loved area of our business model. This is how we're going to really hold that customer in
Yeah,
tight for
true.
you, Mr. Gucci, Mr. Yves Saint
No,
Laurent.
but it's not.
You're coming
there
in
must be a
as
small difference.
3 disruptors and taking their customer, and I think that that's flawed. I don't think you've got any chance. And the reason why I think that that's complete wrong for you to go there is because I think what you have and what you've done I think is fantastic, and I think you've got a huge opportunity to take this to a 60, 70 million pound business, doing exactly what you do. But I wouldn't pivot into a strategy that when you don't understand how that works across those luxury markets. But I think what you have here, you could build upon, and I think you could force yourself into a situation where a Selfridges goes, you could become our pre-loved, I want to acquire this business. That's an opportunity that you should be selling.
Okay.
So you said 100,000 for 2%.
Yes.
Jeez.
So you're valuing it at 5 million?
Yes.
5 million, yeah.
Oy.
Oy.
So I'll tell you what, I'll tell you where I am, okay? Some people in this den wouldn't get out of bed for 2%.
Ha!
Not looking at anyone in particular. But you're
Sounds
offering
like
a
given
small stake
thing.
in your
It's
business.
not given,
But
yes.
to have somebody motivated to want to get really involved in your business,
Yeah.
they're going to want to take a significant proportion of your business.
Uh-huh.
And so you're going to have to give away a lot more of your business if you're going to walk out of here with a dragon, okay?
Firstly, first things first.
My personal opinion is
Now,
you just need to go
yes.
and make hay while the sun's shining. And the sun is shining really, really bright, and you just need to get your foot on the gas and go for it. And if you go for it in a big enough way, doing a lot more of what you're doing, some big guy's going to come along and buy you up or buy part of you because you are a pain in their behind, and you can scale this business without anybody coming in. I'm sat here thinking, would I like a chunk of this business? Absolutely. But then I feel like you would resent me because I'd won such a significant chunk of your business. You'd get to the point in 6 months' time where you'd be really frustrated and saying, why did we give her all of that chunk of the business when she just told us to do more of what we're doing? Because that's essentially what you need to do. So I'm going to shoot myself in the foot and tell you that I'm not going to invest and I'm out.
Yeah, I actually think the same. I'm not going to make you an offer. But I'm going to wish you the very best and say that I'm out. But congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Peter.
Do you know what? I'm going to make you an offer. Because I just really like you guys, and I think it'd be loads of fun to work with. I know all the people around your space, and I think a lot of the value can just be done connecting you with those people. So I'm going to offer you all of the money for 5%.
Interesting. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
To me, you're just the whole package as far as entrepreneurs are concerned. You know, you just got it. You came up with an idea, you've done it, and you're turning over 6.5 million last year. I mean, that is phenomenal.
No, they haven't.
That's this year.
Oh, that's your That's your run rate.
Projected, yeah.
So I too am going to make you offer, and I'm not going to make it easy for you because I also want 5% of the business.
Okay. Thank you, Deborah.
Thank you very much. And then there was one.
Yeah, look, the business looks rosy. However, you get a few bad months, it could turn.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to need some strings pulled to make things happen. And I've got 50 years experience in this business. I'm not going to give myself away for 5%. So I'll make you an offer. I'll give you all of the money, but I want 10%, because I believe that I can catapult you quicker.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can we go and talk to the wall?
Talk to the wall.
To the window.
A trio of offers for the second-hand luxury traders. Stephen Bartlett and Deborah Meaden have each pledged all the money for 5%, whilst fashion mogul Tuka Suleiman has valued his industry expertise at 10%, considerably higher than the 2% that was originally on the table.
Just the most we'd go to. 4. Can't do it 3, go to 4. Okay.
Will the young entrepreneurs be as impressive at negotiating as they are at producing high profits?
Thank you for all your offers. We really appreciate it. So, like, when I was 19, I kind of like didn't really like the direction my life was going in. So like I decided like, I need to start working on myself.
Like.
I started listening to your podcast, Stephen. And
I know,
like the conversations you've had with all these people really helped me get back on track and live a life. Like, I never thought I'd be in this position now, showing you guys my business that is turning over whatever. Like, you've helped me out a lot, man. Like, I appreciate it. Can someone help me out? I think we would prefer to work closer with Stephen.
Fine. The difference is you're getting 8 years of experience with me getting 50 years.
It's fantastic experience. Have we got a deal?
I think we have to. I think we would prefer to agree. Well, we would definitely want to agree terms. I think 5% for us is too high.
Right.
we would do 3%. That's where we're at, Stephen. And like we would shake hands on a deal at 3% right now.
Like I know. like I know. Like. like.
I think 3% is a good deal.
So you wouldn't be willing to go to 4%?
Huh.
Sometimes in the den, you know, sometimes in the den, I want to see a bit more willingness to negotiate and meet in the middle. And I'm a dragon, so I'm meant to be like tough guy that, you know, is gonna like, I don't know, throw the money at you, tell you to get whatever. But I'm in love with your story. I'm in love with what you're doing. I think you're great guys, and I'd love to work with you. So in this case, I'm accepting the 3%. Yeah. We got a deal?
Yeah.
I don't understand
the
title. Still
as
not.
Ben's tough stance
Makes
pays off,
no.
and
I
Stephen
don't get it. I
Bartlett
missed
pays
something.
up.
I feel like I totally misunderstood
Now
that
they have
title.
their dream dragon.
Completely.
The question is,
But
what's
now-
next for the business?
Definitely not
the
retail.
dirty shit. Oh, yes.
Went down like a lead balloon.
Oh, yes. Oh, I've been
I
waiting.
used to
I've been
push trolleys,
literally
and now
looking
I'm
every day on
working with
YouTube to
Stephen
see.
Bartlett. I
See
never
if there's
thought I'd
new
be in front of
dirty
him in
shit
Dragon's
going
Den. I
on.
actually thought I'd be
But
able to
I
get
only
it
watched
on
the
his
Stephanie
podcast.
Sue ones. I feel like she
But it just
does.
so happens
Oh,
that
she's
this was
just
it.
telling the story so.
You absolute soft touch.
I know.
They played
You're
you
so
like a
right.
film. They had no negotiating power.
And he
No.
clearly
No.
doesn't
Do you
like
know
what?
her
I
and
looked at it
is
I
watching
thought,
her
the ego
channel
aside, would I do that deal with them? I
while
would.
this
Yeah,
thing
it's
is
a good
going
deal.
on. Clearly, there's like things he said made that obvious. But you can obviously request something different if you don't want to watch the Stephanie Sue thing. Yeah, anytime.
Bada bing, bada boo.
One of Sean Combs' latest girlfriends takes the stand under a pseudonym. On the stand, her name is Jane Doe, and she is about to tell the jurors about her relationship with Sean Combs with Diddy up until his arrest. So all of the previous witnesses that we've had, most of them, like Diddy and Cassie broke up in 2018. That's like 7 years ago. Same thing with Mia. They stopped working together for a very long time. I mean, it's been almost a decade. With Jane, she has been there up until his arrest. She was dating him November of 2023 when Cassie Ventura drops her lawsuit.
Okay.
Then in 2024, I believe it was May, the CNN video drops.
CNN video is the hotel.
Yes, the Intercontinental Hotel video of Sean Combs assaulting Cassie. Jane is actually in Sean Combs' bed. They're both asleep. The sons come knocking on the door and they're like, you gotta come downstairs. Something is happening. They all go downstairs. There's like a massive huddle. Everybody is like, the energy is so tense. Jane says she wants to throw up because this is her first time watching the video as well. She's there. And then 6 months later, September of 2024, Diddy goes to New York City, and this is when he gets arrested in New York City. Jane is actually about to fly from LA to New York City to meet up with him. So clearly, there are so many moments that people are gonna wanna know more about because, what do you mean? This is like one of his latest girlfriends. She was with him up until his arrest. But there's this one moment in court where it just feels like the entire courtroom kind of doesn't know how to respond to the things that Jane is saying on the stand. I mean, it's such a big part of the case since day one. But nobody talks about this part on a deep level. It feels a giant elephant in the room. We know what Diddy has done. Quickly. But why does Diddy like...
Have you seen the AI generated free Diddy shit? It's like it's everywhere. It's hilarious though, because it's like 50 Cent saying free, having a t-shirt on saying free Diddy, and 50 Cent is obviously notoriously very, very much against Diddy. Like, he wants to see him in prison. But then it's like 50 Cent with a t-shirt on saying free Diddy. I think it's hilarious.
To watch other men have intimate relations with his girlfriends. I mean, so much so that he clearly puts his girlfriends in emotionally tough positions where it's alleged that they don't really consent to it, that they're coerced into doing these things. It's like a fixation that he has. He needs to watch this happen for days at a time, once a week. This activity takes up like what, 15-20% of his life? If all the testimonies on the stand have been accurate? I mean, the question of whether or not all parties consented, whether or not this is legal, that's up to the 12 jurors to decide. But the question of why he's even into this,
he said the train is leaving,
like lingering in the air. People
and
talk
the people
about
were like, we're getting on the train.
I don't really know.
And now
I mean,
the train left the
pink,
station and they didn't know what kind of
lingering.
train it was.
Even the hotel nights, Jane, so she doesn't call them freak-offs. He would call them hotel nights with her. And then with other assistants, he started calling them king nights. So there's different variations: freak-offs, hotel nights, king nights. Jane says that she would have to engage in certain conversations with the men that were invited. Combs would be watching, and she's asked, what are some examples of the things you would say in these rooms at hotel nights during these 3 years or 3.5 years? I would say a lot of cheating role play, that they would be, that Sean left town and I'm all alone with me and whoever, and I'm sneaking in this entertainer and it's just me and this entertainer, and I'm just fantasy talking about how Sean's on a plane and I couldn't wait to get this entertainer all alone to myself, etc.
Meanwhile, he's in the corner.
Yes, and one of the entertainers actually, many of them, they say that he's very distracting in the corner because he's very loud with his self-pleasuring movements. So she's like having all this fantasy role-play talk while he's just like, in the corner.
Friend, I feel like almost like Epstein learned from Diddy.
Even when they were not at the hotel nights, aka freak-offs, Combs would ask
what's funny?
FaceTime the entertainers.
Pause quickly. I actually one night went on a deep dive rabbit hole at 2 o'clock in the morning when I couldn't sleep about the whole get him to the Greek thing, because it was kind of like fucking with my head a bit. Oh my goodness, imagine, the level of conspiracy that's going to be out there. But I feel like he wouldn't just, I don't know, just because he's enjoying all of this so much. I don't know. I always feel like when she, like, after everything, when she explains how he is in court, I feel like he's enjoying the attention. But, so the get him to the Greek thing, right? Oh my goodness. So my brain was like, okay, Marshall from, Jason Segel made the get him to the Greek. But then I went and looked at the producers and like, who's in that group? So that, like, the Jason Segel group is basically the James Franco, Seth Rogen, etc., etc. That group of directors / producers, right, / actors. But I was trying to find somebody from their group that somehow was at one of these Diddy parties and could have given them some information, because I feel like what Jason Segel did was like, you guys, they was all sitting getting hella stoned one night. And he was like, yo, Seth Rogen, listen, you know what would be really funny? If we made a movie about him and we got him to play himself, but we trick him and we say like, no, that's the character. And then they were like, yeah, dude, let's try it. But I don't think it's going to work. Maybe it works. And then they tried it. Jason Segel. Yes, that one. That's what I said. Segel. Okay. Is that how you pronounce it? Okay, good. Great. And then then the next day they called him up. Yo, Daddy, got this movie, got the sport to play. It's gonna be really easy for you because you kind of just have to play this big ass producer that has crazy parties. And Daddy was like, oh man, I'm fucking there. I'll bring my fluffy walls. I'll bring my Jeffries. I'll bring the pimps, the hoes, all of it. And then, like, through lots of digging, I found that there is a link. There is a link between, like, I feel like there's a few people who got invited to those parties who were part of that. Yeah. What? No, I'm being... Oh, lol. Okay, at least. Jason Segel. So I was saying it right. Okay, that makes me feel better. But yes, basically, I do feel like Jason Segel has not admitted it openly, and he's refusing to comment on the thing. Because obviously there's an entire Reddit thread on this. Obviously. So it's not just me who made the connection. More people has made the connection. But how funny is it that Daddy played himself on? Because that, like, what they've been testifying in trial is basically that movie. Basically.
Video calls with them while she secretly screen mirrors her phone onto a giant TV for Combs to watch. So I'm assuming it's like her video calling these entertainers, being like, he's out of town, let's have a steamy video call, and he's like watching on the TV.
And does the entertainer know that this is... Oh.
She said specifically she did not tell them because she wanted them to feel comfortable. Sometimes Sean Combs would just ask her to ask the entertainer for pictures of their private parts so that they could both look at them. Jane says about these pictures, Combs would say, like, get them to send you something or FaceTime them or get them to send you something, and so they would. Jane says in the middle of their relationship, sometime in 2022, she actually comes across a word because she's trying to figure out what their relationship is at this point and why Combs wants her so desperately to engage in these activities with other men in front of him, and she doesn't even enjoy it. It
reminds me of a certain friend I used to have who had a certain boyfriend that you also knew. I won't say names, obviously.
Coming to the edge of the seat now.
Remember what I told you? Like, his thing was also...
On the other hand, he's not happy. He does not like this line of questioning. He is frozen, and then he starts shaking his head ever so slightly, like, no. Jane is further asked, what is that? That is a man who is in a relationship with a woman, and he's turned on watching his woman have sex with another man. I was just trying to kind of deep dive on all the reasons why they had derived so much. Combs would ask Jane to FaceTime the entertainers.
I'm going back now, but I missed
while she secretly screen mirrors her phone onto a giant TV for Combs to watch. So I'm assuming it's like her video calling these entertainers, being like, he's out of town, let's have a steamy video call, and he's like watching on the TV.
And does the entertainer know that this is... Oh.
She said specifically she did not tell them because she wanted them to feel comfortable. Sometimes Sean Combs would just ask her to ask the entertainer for pictures of their private parts so that they could both look at them. Jane says about these pictures, Combs would say, like, get them to send you something or FaceTime them or get them to send you something, and so they would. Jane says in the middle of their relationship, sometime in 2020,
I saw them at that metal night, by the way. Very quickly. I didn't realize who she was, but obviously I know him, and he just dodged past me. So I couldn't make a proper enough assessment from the short period of time I saw him, but didn't look much different to me. I hope so also, for your friend's sake, I really do.
She actually comes across a word because she's trying to figure out what their relationship is at this point and why Combs wants her so desperately to engage in these activities with other men in front of him, and she doesn't even enjoy it.
Okay, what's the word?
She says, I came upon a word that was called cuck, and the whole gallery. I mean, literally, there are members of the press coming to the edge of the seat now. They're like leaning forward because she has such a soft-spoken voice.
What?
Combs, on the other hand, he's not happy. He does not like this line of questioning. He is frozen, and then he starts shaking his head ever so slightly, like, no. Jane is further asked, what is that? That is a man who is in a relationship with a woman, and he's turned on watching his woman have sex with another man. I was just trying to kind of deep dive on all the reasons why they had derived so much pleasure from watching their women be with other men. I just wanted to know why my partner wanted so many of these nights and what was driving him. I was just trying to find an understanding of it that he wasn't vocal about.
Is she being questioned by the prosecutor or by the defense attorney?
The defense.
Oh.
So what was your understanding of what you learned? I mean, there was a multiple list of reasons. One of them was that the cuck derives pleasure, seeing his woman receive pleasure from the other man, and a few other things. It feels like Jane does not want to say what other things. What are some of the other things? Some of the other things could also have a bi-curiosity.
Is that what that is?
Themselves, and so they use the woman to venture out in this curiosity
like,
actually doing the act itself.
Figured it out.
I felt like a lot of dots were connecting in the gallery because it makes sense. Now, this is obviously presumptuous. We don't know.
I've heard that word
before
many times, but I never knew that's what that is.
If he does not want to engage in any sort of loving commitment with Jane
I don't know.
after these hotel nights,
I wouldn't vibe with that.
perhaps it's because he wants to be Jane. He's jealous. So there was like lots of dots connecting in the gallery. A lot of people were whispering about it in the hallways of all of their theories, but we're not psychologists, so we don't really know.
A person.
You said he doesn't want to engage with Jane after these hotel nights?
He will have intimate relations, but he will not have romantic moments with Jane, which is all she was wanting for.
Oh, same as with Cassie.
Some people are theorizing, we're armchair psychologists in the hallways of this courthouse. They're just saying maybe it's because he wants to be Jane. He doesn't love Jane. He wants to be Jane. You know, he wants to be in that position. Others are saying, no, it's more degradation. Like, he just wants to humiliate women. So it's kind of up in the air. Nobody really knows. And a lot of the jurors, as Jane is saying this, they're snapping their heads to look at Sean Combs, and he is statuesque. None of his family and friends have any sort of response either. Would voyeurism or escapism also fit this fantasy? Jane thinks about it for a second and says, no, I think I would use the word cock for him more so. A few of the people in the gallery cocked their heads a little bit. But what's even more interesting in this is this line of questioning, like I said, is not coming from the government. This line of questioning is coming from Tenny Garagos,
let me
Combs' own counsel.
I can't read and listen at the same time. People call other people that when they have a loose partner who is most likely sleeping around, but they are, okay, I feel you. Okay. But I've heard like people use it in the sense of you're in a cockhold. So I thought it was like some kind of a chokehold, you know, another word for, but like a metaphorical chokehold. That's how I always understood it in my very simple Afrikaans way of understanding English. But now it makes much more sense in like, it's not that it's that you're in that, it's a situation that you're in. Okay. Yes. No, but it makes sense. It makes total sense now. Like, I like learning. I've heard this word so many times, but I never knew that's what it means.
Where this is going.
Very interesting.
Why is Tenny Garagos asking Jane this? It doesn't seem like Sean Combs wants to associate his lifestyle with those terms. And I say lifestyle loosely because this is a trafficking case. But perhaps it's embarrassing, but it might be the best shot that the defense has. The defense needs the jurors to believe that Sean Combs is not a monster. He is not committing crimes. He is just a cuck.
Sure. You know what this gives me? This gives me South Park vibes when they were, you know, that episode where the men were cheating but they weren't. It was called like some magician from a different dimension that was controlling. What was that episode? You remember that episode of South Park? Yeah, it's giving me those like, oh, it's not my fault. It's a magical force be on me. something. The bullshit they've been trying to use as defenses in this trial is sometimes I feel like you can't write.
We would like to thank today's sponsors
that
who have
is
made it
this
possible
good.
for Rotten Mango to support the New
Like,
York
real
Immigration
life is
Coalition.
just,
They are an
man.
umbrella policy and advocacy
Jeez.
organization that represents over 200 immigrant and refugee right groups throughout New York. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's growing team, and we'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. Some of the quotes and statements have been shortened, combined, and condensed for brevity. Today's episodes has a few content disclaimers regarding mentions of domestic violence, physical and sexual assault, and trafficking, so please take a break if you need to. You guys also know the drill. At the time of filming this episode, Diddy is innocent until proven guilty, and all the charges that he's been indicted on are still alleged. Any and all observations from me, my researchers, have happened in real time inside the courtroom, and they are just observable actions. I'm like, hey, I saw Sean Combs scratch his head and mouth these words to somebody.
Yes!
That doesn't mean I know the
Yes,
intention behind these
exactly.
actions. That
With the
doesn't
weird
mean I know
fucking
what Sean
hat
Combs is
causing
thinking.
the
That
sex
doesn't mean I know if
addiction.
he's guilty
Yes.
or innocent of
It's
the
not
charges
Diddy's
that
fault.
he has been charged with.
It's the sex
It just
addiction,
means
man.
I saw him scratch his head.
Can't help
So
it.
with that
It's a
being said,
disease
let's get into
caused
it.
by
Where to
weird,
find
crazy
the
alien.
gold of all the powerful?
Yes,
One secures
that's
the gold
it.
of the
There you
spirit when
go.
he finds himself. When he finds himself, he finds freedom and all riches, achievement, and prosperity. That is literally what Sean Combs is reading in court. He walks into the courtroom most days now with a new little book. He has ditched the Bible. He has replaced it with this bright red book with this orange circle in the middle. It was giving a little bit culty. Nobody could get a good read on it.
So his like
A little bit
truth journal is
culty.
gone too.
No, he has his truth journal. He's got this little accordion file
Oh,
thing.
that's
that
Yes,
opens
I
up and he's
remember.
got
Then
the
he was
little
like,
truth journal.
and he
hasn't
seemed
been
all like
whipping it
drunk and
out
shit.
as
They like
obviously
made him
these days.
drunk
I
and make
haven't
him
seen
all over the place. And then they oh, we got him. Oh yes, sending the SWAT team. Yes. Oh my goodness. This is like as ridiculous as what that episode was. But the funny thing is, this is not South Park. This is real life. Can't believe, like, man, when I tell you sometimes like this Diddy shit is crazy, I know I have a way of hyperbolizing about things, but you know, over exaggerating about things, but I'm not over exaggerating about this one. This one is just, and this is like part 5 or 6 already. Like we've had already like 4 weeks of trial, I think. It's been a crazy ride. Some of the things
truth written on there since the first 2 times. Yeah, now he just like, he shoves it in, he did the little sleeping thing, and then now I'm like, it's either out already, but like we get there before he gets there. It's weird. So nobody could get a good read on this book, and I'm like scooching to the side, squinting. I'm like trying to see if I could smuggle in a magnifying glass, but I also don't want to get kicked out of the courtroom. I'm trying to see what the hell this book is. I come home, Google it, bright red cover, orange circle in the middle. There are certain quotes in the book that read, "Thoughts have a creative of controlling force in the exact ratio of their constancy, intensity, and power, comparable to the wavelength and wattage of a broadcast system. What you exhibit outwardly, you are inwardly. You are the product of your own thoughts. What you believe yourself to be, you are. Desire is the generating power of all human action, and without it, no one can get very far."
Okay.
I just like, maybe the part that
But,
he takes a little too seriously is the part of the book
yeah.
that reads, "Success is a matter of never ceasing application. You must forever work at it diligently,
I think
otherwise
he's
it
applying
takes
it
wings
to
and
the
flies
wrong
away."
things,
Which
though.
there have been never ceasing applications from the defense team. So maybe he's taken it too literally. The book also has special appearances to talk about how persuasive Hitler, Stalin, and Japanese warlords are. So there's that. That is the magic of believing. While I'm sure it's a great book with a lot of great points made throughout, it is interesting that this is the book that Sean Combs decides to pick up mid-trial. I mean, perhaps he genuinely loves the book and he's just in his studious era. Or it's the intellectual defendant who has a desire to do the inner work ploy. Because at one point he starts reading the book mid-testimony, and I was trying to count the seconds of how long he's on one page, because I'm like, I don't believe this man is actually reading this book right now, because I can barely read books when I'm so immersed into a case that have nothing to do with the case, because My brain is just not registering it. There are more high stakes things going on, and he is the defendant of his own criminal federal trial, and you're reading a book in the middle of the court day. So I'm like, I don't think you're reading. I think this is fake. So I'm counting all the seconds on how long he's on the same page, which I will say was a very long time. And one of his attorneys whispers something. He puts the book away and then slams his right cheek into his right hand like a little child that just got scolded. It's very interesting.
So it's a book about like a lot of attraction, almost.
Manifestation. I keep interrupting you today. I'm sorry.
No,
yes.
no.
About manifestation. Yeah. Now, the rest of the defense team are also in a funk. Donaldson is walking into the courtroom just talking to himself. Usually he's engaged with everyone in the room. He's a socializer, but today he's muttering to himself, it's going to be a long day. It's going to be a long day. Twice. To nobody in particular. He looks like he's aged 2 years in the past, like 48 hours. Brian Steele, on the other hand, he's having a good time. Him and Nicole Westmoreland, they're like, we're flying back home probably in like a month. I'm excited, okay? Brian Steele is texting. His font is literally the largest setting that you can place on the iPhone. It's massive. I'm like, sir, you are so lucky we're not trying to read your text messages right now. It's giving dad vibes. And when Nicole Westmoreland walks in with a Prada bag, he greets her, Nicole West money.
Who?
Brian Steele greets Nicole Westmoreland as Nicole West Money, and now we can't not call her Nicole West Money. It's just like
they're pretty relaxed.
Yeah, I'm actually
You see
very
how
surprised that they're so relaxed
ridiculous.
because Brian Steele has been, I
Completely
think,
ridiculous.
unconsensually taking the villain role of this trial. I can see that he seems very depresso during those days, which makes sense because I was talking to someone who used to be an attorney, and they were like, that's kind of what happens when you have such a big defense team. You don't want every defense member to be a bad guy. You need one bad guy that does all the bad stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that you're saying that every day you go in there, all these attorneys, total different energy every single day.
Every single day. It's to the point where if we have a witness on the stand, the press pews are kind of calculating who's going to do the cross-examination. Because sometimes Nicole Westmoney walks in.
Westmoney?
But like very tight-fitted clothes, and when you're standing on the lectern, everyone is staring at your entire figure, the back of your figure. So sometimes when she's wearing super tight-fitted clothes, the press pews are like, nah, she's not doing the cross today. So everybody's got a different energy. Brian Steele, anytime he's talking or doing a cross, he's in his own world. He does not look like he is registering his environment. When he's not, he's like giddy. Nicole Westmoney's walking in. He's having a good time.
She's gonna literally say it every time.
Okay, so, and it's gonna last 5 days, 6 days.
Now, Father Arun is also not immune to dad vibes either. Everybody's just becoming more of a dad as the trial progresses. Tell you something. During one part,
so on the very first day of trial, she described Diddy as looking like a confused koala. And then he was recorded on a jailhouse call to one of his attorneys telling them that they need to send in a style team because he looks too much like a koala. It's too much. So he obviously watches her channel and is obviously not very happy about, like, there was even she spoke last time, sorry for all the likes, she spoke the last episode that there was a moment in court, more than one moment, where he looked her in the eye and then like stared her down. Then she's like, you know that thing that happens where you look behind you because you think, oh, is he looking at someone behind me? And then the second or the third time that happened, her one researcher that was sitting next to her like nudged her and said, why is Diddy staring at you the whole time? So everybody feels like he is trying to make her aware, because he's not staring at any of the other press members. He's only staring at her. He turns himself around in his pew and looks her in the eye. So he's obviously trying to like show dominance and stuff. cheese in the fridge. I like that. That's cool. You can't see this comment. On YouTube, somebody commented, "Welcome to the internet. I am a white man. This is my land. You can stay. Cheese in the fridge." I love cheese, by the way, friend. Welcome, tasteful thickness. I do like me some cheese. All kinds. Okay,
jurors are not present. They're
continuing.
going over summary charts. Summary charts are given to the jurors at the very end, and it's like compiled evidence from both sides. He says, can we cut down this exhibit so that it achieves that purpose without being 49 pages worth of text messages? He's talking to the government, some of which appear to be for non-illicit purposes, such as the text message on April 23rd, 2023, or on spending money on flowers. Prosecutor Slavic stands up. Your Honor, flower refers to marijuana. And there's like a little pause, and the judge and the gallery, they're all
that kind of
it's a
flower.
miscommunication. And the judge is like such a champ. He's like, I stand corrected. Now, Jason Driscoll, Raspberry Air, has also been on the come up recently. He has been invited into Combs's inner circle.
He's like the youngest attorney on his side that's been quiet this whole time.
Okay, to give you an idea, Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos are founding partners of the law firm. Which founding partners? You're like the top dog. Alexandra Shapiro is a founding partner of her law firm. Brian Steele, I think him and his wife run his own law firm.
Good.
Same with Nicole
It's good
Westmoney
watching.
and Donaldson. The only random
I get so
person
excited.
is Anna Esteveo is also part of a firm, but I think she's like a partner. She's been kind of quiet recently, but Jason Driscoll is an associate
Like invested
at
in the
Alexander
story now.
Shapiro's
Tell
firm.
us.
And he just looks so young compared to the rest of the defense team members who all have like white hairs, except for maybe Tenny Garagos and Shapiro and Esteveo. He looks like he was born yesterday in the best way possible. So we're sitting there like he's got to be doing something right, because Alexandra Shapiro does not seem like the type of bring your son to work day type of person. She's only going to put someone on her team in this case if she thinks it's worth it.
Oh my
so
goodness,
we got
man.
a dark horse. Something's going to happen. He's going to be on the come up, and we were right.
Tasteful thickness, that's brilliant. Archie on YouTube, the tasteful thickness commented that he is bi-curious the same way RuPaul is bi-curious. Yes, I fully agree, friend. We were saying earlier, it's quite weird.
In his favor, although I do think
I
that
also
maybe
get
the deck was stacked better for him.
Queen vibes.
Very interesting.
Not
Every
king
morning
vibes,
he gets
queen vibes.
A more passionate dap up from Diddy now. He's been taken a lot more. And at one point, when the judge
He
does
even got
side with
rid
Jason
of the
Driscoll,
koala hair.
Raspberry Air, he whips around, and my researcher was like dying at this because he does not smile. It's not goofy. He literally just gives like the most serious wink at Diddy, and Diddy and Mark Agnifilo are like, "Damn, we were not expecting this kid." It's very interesting, their interactions to watch. Even when he is talking to the judge, everybody's looking at him, like waiting to see how he handles it. He's also brought his wife, I believe, who sits with the friends and families of Sean Combs. And at one point, he's dapping up Diddy in the morning. Diddy, he's like, oh, I think my wife is over there. I don't really hear what Jason Driscoll is saying, but they point towards the family and friends. And the woman who comes with Jason Driscoll is waving at Diddy. And Diddy is like dramatically pointing at Driscoll, being like, he's good, thumbs up, he's good. But he is still not the smoothest attorney. Some mornings he will miss the dap up with Combs, so they just kind of awkwardly hug instead. Also, there's this awkward moment when he first starts talking and the court reporter doesn't know who the hell he is. So he's like, who are you?
The court reporter.
Yeah, and he's got to be like, Jason Driscoll. He handled it very well, but it is very interesting. But I don't know how long he's going to stay in Diddy's favor, because here's the thing with Diddy. Anytime any one of his attorneys doesn't get what Diddy wants, he just looks at them and kind of sighs. Like, this is so disappointing. I mean, they don't know a moment of peace, these defense attorneys. Mark Agnifilo is drinking water because all of them are getting sick, and Diddy is literally analyzing him drinking water, watching him fully turn to
you
the
must
side.
have a very good sleep.
Just watching him drink water. He can't even stay
Well, I'll
hydrated
talk to you
in
in the
solitude.
morning, friend.
Alexandra Shapiro, though. I will say,
Thank you
she
for
does
coming
appear
and
upset
checking
with everyone. She
in.
always
I
looks
appreciate
stressed. She
you.
always is kind of scowling. She gives me tough love type of vibes, though, because anytime Driscoll loses a case with
very
the judge
excited
and is
to
trying to
to
get
hear
something
about
into evidence
Ballet.
or not get into evidence, judge doesn't side with him. The rest of the defense team, they look disappointed. Alexandra Shapiro always mouths a very stern,
Yes.
good job. But it's like so
I
aggressive.
do
It just
feel like
feels like
Diddy did watch too many. Like, I feel like Diddy really lives in an alternate reality in his head. Like, the Delulu with him is so strong. Listen, the Delulu with that man is crazy strong. Because if you start watching the stuff he himself put on the internet, it's, or am I Australian or Indian? Neither. What is happening here with this accent? I love that people really struggle to understand what I am South African. My mother language is Afrikaans. Ek praat baie lekker Engels. So I can speak proper English when I apply myself, but my boyfriend on Twitch is saying I'm Pakistani. Bloody benchot. But I'm South African. Yes, I'm often South Africa's, and I feel like Archie. I feel like Diddy is just. If you go look at all the videos he put out there, this man thought that he was untouchable and God, and nothing bad is ever going to happen. Everything is great. Everything is fine. And now
like,
look,
so tough love.
Afrikaans. Yes, I'm in South Africa.
And so even when he doesn't get the judge on his side, she's like, good job. But it's like very intense. I'm like, what is happening? There's so many different dynamics. This would make me cry. Alexandra Shapiro is also walking around with a massive tissue box. She has been going row by row, passing out tissues to each of the defense attorneys, who grab one and they just start honking their noses into it. Every single person in this courtroom is sick again. A few days ago, there is a sketch artist that sits right behind the defense table. So there's two that sit on the right side in front of us. Sometimes one of them doesn't show up. Jane.
My boyfriend says I lie. I didn't go open for my dog. I went to go give the lions water. I think he knows South Africa. I think he knows we don't have. Maybe I don't know. I know that like this story. Well, it didn't happen to me, but one of my friends from like many years ago went to the UK to go do some bartending, hospitality stuff, and then one of the girls there that was trying to like pick him up asked him like, how did they used to go to school in South Africa? And then he told her, well, you see, we like there's an eagle that comes every morning, and then the eagle grab you by the shoulders and then take you to school. And she believed it. I was like, no, man, no. Have you considered asylum status? I have actually thought about. We've all been considering that. There's just lots of processes to go through. Like it's not that easy. But I have been considering it actually. Malema and the SA government isn't a big no. Oh, he's in New York. Yes, welcome from New York. That's interesting. Wow. No, we know. No, listen, we've been actually trying to say that for many years, and then it's only recently that the rest of the world started catching on to what's been going on here since I feel like probably like 96. Yeah. Archie says, no, it's yeah. Coffee. Okay. You got me. Okay, cool. I'm learning how to chat on multi-chat. It's the first time that I'm streaming on more than one platform, so this is quite an interesting experience. Why on SA? Because I have to get the identification form that I have, the card that I had. We used to have a bookie, like a little ID book. Identification book. I had that, And apparently that has now been phased out completely, and I have to get a card. So I got my card. I need to just make an appointment to go fetch it, which will probably take another 2 months to go fetch it, because that's how long you wait for things over here. And then I have to apply for like a visa also. So as far as I know, you got to have a passport and a visa before you do like go and apply for that. So you see that in a year, I have to drive firstly, or fly, or drive very far. So yes, I've been looking into the process and seeing like exactly how it works, but I don't exactly know how it works yet, completely. To be honest with you, I haven't done a rabbit hole on it yet, because I thought, wait, let me just first get my ID and my renew my driver's license and get my passport again, renew my passport. I have a passport, I just need to renew it. And then I'll look into it again. Because I feel like both of us we don't. Look, you were saying I'm walking over here. Yeah, you see, where we're from, we know like very stereotypical New York, and I guess more probably Brooklyn things. I don't know, and like Italian New York things. Your story is now the Western story. What is I think I don't exactly know what do you mean? Please elaborate. But yes, I think what you mean is like South Africa's story is now all over. Yeah, and the Gabagool, yes. Oh, Michael Scott.
She sits right behind Diddy in the defense team.
Good old
She's
Michael.
in the very first row of the pew. She starts coughing, and it sounds.
But yes, I think our story is all over.
Right in front of her,
the Western world now.
Combs, the defense team. Right behind her in the pew is
it's
the
been a rough ride, eh?
So she's sandwiched between
having
Combs
it really hard over
and
here.
Combs' family.
Yes. Now,
like
to be fair, there's another seat directly behind Combs. That's not a pew. That's not at the table. Two U.S. Marshals sit there.
Okay.
But they're just like watching Combs, right? So like she's like coughing on top.
Yeah,
of the
he says we know.
Like
yes, Archie says we don't mean it offensive. We know you guys don't talk like that.
She'll be
we know,
hacking up a
we
storm.
The
Combs family. I mean, at this point, some of the press pews were confused at how animated it was.
I get that. But also
coughs,
like, wait, let me pause Stephanie first. I get that they feel like they are native, but I feel like I don't know any other country of origin. I grew up in this country, and I feel like I'm as South African as a South African can come. So being called not a native to my own country when this is where I was born is really, 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 yeah. There's like, not even, I'm not going to say the words, but not even just that religion of the R-word gangs. Yeah, like, I told I had a video call interview with one of my American friends from Denver the other night. And he was like telling me, well, because I was speaking to him on Instagram before the call, telling him I'm on my way home, and he was like telling me to drive safe, because what if the cops pull me over because I'm on my phone and not paying attention. I was like, dude, in South Africa, they have way bigger fish to fry, my friend. Me talking on my little phonesy while I'm driving is the least of anybody's problems. Nobody cares. What they care about, like I heard something ridiculous the one day about the statistic of murders committed in South Africa per day. That not even to mention the SA cases and like children getting abducted and disappeared. There was a girl, an African girl actually the other day that got abducted by her Tinder date. Like she went on a date and then the date took her somewhere, and then luckily she had her live location shared with some of her friends, because we're all very paranoid over here. I think even they are. Like, I think I think it has changed from being a thing between cultures to just being out of control and being like everybody is suffering now. Now it's not even just, now it's more a case of if you're rich and you have influence and you're in one of these crime circles, that's kind of like the only way that you're gonna prosper, in my opinion. And that's a terrible way to look at it, but yeah. And then let me just read. Yes, you are. Yes. Yes. Exactly. Sort of Western story, except if the Indians overtook the land now. Yeah. Or try to, if they had Indian number. Yeah. Yeah, it's all, listen, it's all really freaking dark, but I try my best. Ask Archie.
It's like
I
a
try my
roller
best to
coaster.
like
in unison. They back all the way up like they're
imagine that
accelerating on a
everything's
Disney
okay.
roller coaster ride.
Can you tell them who's on there?
Everything's
'Cause-
great.
Yes, so you've got Janice Combs, you've got Justin Combs. Now, it depends on the day. Sometimes it's just Justin, other times it's Justin and Christian, and then other times it's
Commission
Justin,
I'm
Christian,
working on.
and
That's why I'm
Quincy.
working so
The daughters
late.
have not shown
It
up since
is
the beginning
right
of the
now,
trial. And then you've got Dana
11:30
Tran,
PM
who
where
is
I
the mother
live.
of the youngest Combs child, Baby Love, who is, I believe, only like 2 years old. So they're all sitting there and they're just like leaning back in unison like a roller coaster ride, trying to get away from like the sprays of the cough. It's just so interesting to the point where even Justin is giggling at
I
his
need to
grandma
add
because
something.
of the way
Also,
that they're trying to.
It's not, why I'm saying it's not anymore a thing of just one culture here suffering or cultures against each other, races against each other. It's not so much that anymore. Because, I mean, let's look at Elon Musk and the situation that is unfolding there finally. And the things that has come to light about him. And he's a very privileged cis white male. And has gotten away with things that I'm like, yeah, no, dude, you definitely have been living in a different time period. Thank goodness for the internet, because even here people are starting to wake up a little bit to what is really going on by doing some research for themselves and like, typing away on the old Google. So yeah. Are you gonna go stream
move
for a
away
bit?
from these
Okay.
coughs. They all start
I'll
masking
come
up too
check you in a
because
bit.
it's that bad.
Okay.
Even a few of the older jurors have started
check
wearing
you in a
masks
bit.
after this. Court has to break for one moment because
me
a juror
like
is coughing so much they have to bring her water and cough drops. And so
another
I'm telling you, everybody is
minutes or
getting
so.
sick. The entire defense
Yeah,
team
like
is
another 15
coughing. It's
minutes.
like a nightmare tissue rotation. And we have never seen
'Cause I
Sean
am
Combs
starting
this
to
sick.
get
He's so congested all week. He's just aggressively rubbing his eyes and his scalp. He's like rubbing his eyes like he's trying to take out his retinas. He's itching his entire scalp. I think it's trying to soothe maybe sinus pressure. And he likes to pop cough drops into his mouth, but he chews them. I just know that this man bites his ice cream. That's all I have to say. And it's so interesting that there's this much going on during the testimony days. Mark Agnifilo has also gotten a new haircut, and I say this with so much respect because I was writing this down in my notes, and so were the researchers independently of me. Because, again, I'm very terrified. Mark seems very intense, but he also seems like the type that would let his wife cut his hair. He walks in, new haircut, and my first thought was, I feel like Karen cut his hair. That was the feeling. And then later, a few days later, one of my researchers is outside. Mark walks into the courtroom. He's interacting with some of the press members a little bit, and he just shouts at someone complimenting his haircut, "My wife cut it." So my suspicions were correct. His whole energy is like the kid that gets a new haircut, comes into school and wants everyone to compliment his new haircut. He's like bouncing around. And I'm like, what is happening? How are they able to compartmentalize all of these things that are happening in the courtroom? He's also still filibustering. So last we heard was that Combs got yelled at by the judge for nodding at the jurors.
He actually got told by the judge that he
nodding
must
again.
stop
But Mark
filibustering.
Agnifilo, Brian Steele, they're standing behind their client. And Mark is saying, one of the things I wanted to say, He's saying this to the judge.
I know
I'm
more
a
about the
reasonable man,
American
and everyone
politics
can,
than I
and an
know about
approachable
South
one.
African
So if
politics.
someone, my colleagues from the government, sees something, he's basically saying, I don't know why the government is tattletaling to a judge. They should
so
tell
little
me first.
attention to
I would encourage them
it'll,
to come
oh
to
yes,
me.
oh that
I
guy.
take these things
Yes, that guy.
now,
I know
in terms of
him.
what? I didn't see anything.
I've seen
I'm
him.
Just,
Yeah.
I'm riveted.
I don't
Your
really
Honor,
watch
I'm
UFC.
riveted. Nodding is one of these things
But I
where
see
it
it.
could be bad intentioned, or it could not be bad intentioned. And so I didn't see it. If someone comes to me and says, I might disagree, they might say he's nodding, and I might say, so what do you mean? Is that a problem? Or is it not a problem? And maybe it's not a problem. Maybe it is a problem. But without someone coming to me, kind of remedy this, it's a stitch in time saves 9 type thing.
So when he's like talking in this mannerism, right? It's
And
like
also I think you have to like really
smooth and very like kind of clueless,
there's
like type of
certain
energy. What is
criteria.
the judge's reaction? Is he like, like stop playing with me, or is he like, all right, I know what you're doing? And
I think it's harder to yell at Agnifilo.
You'll have to
the judge, because it's like, I know what you're doing.
Let's
like we all know what you're doing. But I do see that maybe when Brian Steele comes in very hot
not
and
in
slightly
South
aggressive, the judge shuts him down so quick and is like, no. Same with Alexandra Shapiro. They talk a little more aggressively with the judge. The judge is not having it.
I see.
Mark Agnifilo is always like, I mean, maybe it's a problem, maybe it's not a problem. I didn't see anything. He's almost like, don't
you
blame
see,
me.
okay, so
It's
that's the
very
thing.
weird.
So it
Let me
in a way
explain to
it
you.
worked.
Yes.
Let
He
me pause.
usually can get away with some.
That's the other thing. So I have to be able to prove that. So the asylum is asylum seeking to America for the South Africans is mostly for farmers, for white farmers, because it's really dangerous living on the farms. They get killed and murdered every day. But where I live, I mean, they've broken in here once or twice, but not so many times. The once or twice is nothing, and my life has never been in danger where I live. I've never had to fear for my life where I live, and I don't live in a very privileged area, but it's also not the worst. It's not the slums, at least. So let me see. Resettle refugees, city claims. Guy, this being based on protected grounds as rise. So I have, like, somebody has had to have threatened me in some way that I feel like, okay, I need to get out of here. So mostly it is for the farmers, and I have to go see an immigration attorney about this, and an attorney needs to help me go over, which means that I don't have money for that. And most of the people who has gone over have a small bit of money. They're not completely ridiculously poor. Like I am. I'm broke. I'm not poor, but I'm broke. I have everything I need, but I'm broke because I'm an artist, and art supplies are expensive. And I have to collect enough documentation to support my claims. I have to have police reports, medical reports. It's basically for the South Africans who have been attacked on their farms, or whose neighbors were attacked, or there was, that's what it's for. So, like, if I had my documentation, I knew originally, well, I'm going to firstly you have to have that, and then you go see a lawyer about it. And then the lawyer takes you through the process. So, yeah, but they're expensive. It's not for free. You pay for everything here. Every single thing. Your healthcare, there's no such thing as the law will provide you, or the court will provide you with an attorney if you do not have money for your own attorney. There's no, like, I don't know. Sure, we have state defenders, but they don't do any, like, actual defending on your case. Is there? Really? But they're money. But if you, yes, see, my boyfriend says yes, they are facilitators, but they will only help you if you are being prosecuted, or, and it's only if, in defense court, that there are free lawyers. But it's yeah, you have to have had like done something. That's what should be happening. It's easy for everyone else. Buy and go. Yeah, no, it's not. No, it's not free. No, no, it's not free. No. Not in South Africa. No. Well, I wish. That would be great. That would be awesome. But I'm pretty sure that there's no way of getting to you with no money. With this whole this situation, this asylum seeking situation. Plus, once again, I have to prove that I am in danger, that my life is in danger. If I can't prove that my life is not in danger, there's no police report. Like, my life's not, there's nothing. I am living blissfully ignorant inside a little cabin in a garden. And also think the cost of starting up that stuff. And also you have to pay for your own, like, when you get that site, they don't give you free housing and all of this. You have you have to go with some money, so you have money while you're looking for a job over there. Yeah. Canada is easier to immigrate to, because Canada will still give you a job if you have like some kind of education experience. In Canada will give you a job at least, and like living arrangements and free healthcare. But no, USA is really hard to. I know, like, my aunt lives in Florida and she's lived there for the past 25 years. She's been a US citizen for many years, and I have another aunt who lives in Atlanta, who's also been an American citizen for over 20 years. And back then it was a lot easier for them, because now I have friends who's gone over and it's been a process for them. No, not me personally. They're not gonna go. No, it's not that deep. I know it seems that deep, but they've been protesting that for the past 20 years. Since 1995, 96, they've been doing that. But it's, as I said, it's mostly the farmers who actually get taken out, because they have land. I don't have land, I have nothing. I have nothing that they would want, so... and the ones that I know, I'm very good friends with. So it's, yeah. But not from that political party. Like, I don't ever ask people what political party they are, because that will start an argument if you're a South African. Yeah, I know. Well, I can imagine, like, you see, for us, it's almost like being the Addams family. Because for us, this is like very, very much the norm. Like, I think especially the minority South Africans, right? Now we can argue about who is the minority right now, but I will go with the least amount of people is what a minority is, right? That's the technical definition of the word. So the current minority, I think we got so used to people not listening to us saying like this is going on, that we've kind of accepted and moved on. Like, there's a lot of people like still fighting against it, but now there's the asylum thing, at least for the farmers. But now also the other thing is, if all the farmers leave, like, I have family who are farmers and they have no plans of leaving, and we have family in America, so they have even like somewhere they can go, because they even go visit in America often. Not me though, but they do. And because of like being very, like, I mean, these farms have been in our families for many, many generations. It's very hard for some of them to leave their land and go to a whole new country. Yeah, I know. Yes, definitely. Like, I've been saying it for a while. And also I feel like, you know, sure, maybe a long time ago we weren't the minority, but things have changed a little bit over the time, you know, over the past few years. What is the time? I'm gonna maybe possibly end soon.
Listen to this because the way he talks.
2 more seconds.
That being said,
But
I
listen,
take
this
this matter
stuff
very
is
seriously.
genius.
I've spoken to Mr. Combs. He's
Because
assured me he didn't
I don't
mean
know, were you
anything by
here
it.
when I
He
spoke
was
about
just
Get Him to the Greek? Have you ever watched the movie Get Him to the Greek? Don't you also feel like that movie was a prediction or like a call out on Diddy? And he like fed into it and didn't even realize what he was like, what people got him to do. Well, I would not like that, you see, because that's going to mean war, and that will put my life in danger. Because right now, we're kind of at a stalemate where you need us for farming and for supplies, and we need you not to kill all of us. So, but like, there are more of them dying daily than there is of us dying daily. And they are predominantly way poorer in this country than we are. So, you know, when there is no jobs, never mind I can't find a job, never mind I don't want to look for a job, there literally is no jobs. What does a community start doing? What does a group start doing? Yes, the Jeffrey and the furry walls, dude, and the parties and the things. That was, I feel like they tricked Diddy into that. I do, because I care about all humans. Like I'm not racist in any way. I do believe that fair is fair and that nobody should kill anybody. That would be great. That would be my preferred reality, but I know that is impossible because we need the bad to understand what is good. But I would not like for war to come to our country. Like freaking our president that wants to go put his fingers and offer us up to go help in the war. Shut up, sir. Shut up, leave us alone. I don't want to be part of no war. Please, sir, please, 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 please. I don't think all of them do. I think the previous generation, yes. 50 and upwards, yes, definitely. But as I said, I have many friends who are not of the same race as I am, and we have exactly the same opinions about things and viewpoints on things. And I even have a Zulu friend who is a Sangoma, who has been initiated as a Sangoma, and she is one of the most beautiful people I know. Most beautiful, precious friends I have. So, like, some of them are like really, really good people though. So I know a lot of, as I said, what about Elon Musk? What about Elon Musk, friend? What, like if we have to start with the people that I know personally, who is white and the most evil of people that I know, I really wonder if it's a thing about race or if it's just bad people and good people, you know. We used to have like pet cheetahs and stuff when I was younger, and pet meerkats, but a pet puma is not very hard to have. Like pumas are rooi katte, and like they are actually quite domesticated when you raise them. The minis. No, I'm trying to catch up. Yeah. I'm not anti-racist, I'm just pro-human. See, I don't really focus on these kind of things. Like, if you see, like, any of my other content ever, you'll see I'm more of the metaphysics and focusing on how to better oneself. Like, that's more the things that I try and fill my input with, because whatever you fill your input with, your output's going to be filled with. So if I spend all my days watching news about how people are attacking and killing each other, I would be pretty pessimistic. But I watch Body Cam. Oh my goodness, I love American Body Cam. My God, the people. Oh, I want to start a thing called Body Cam Bingo, by the way. I think Body Cam Bingo will be the best thing ever. Ever, ever, ever. Yeah, I don't care. But it doesn't matter really to me. They can see it. Yeah. Same here. I haven't been able to find a job in the past freaking 10 years because it's a really, really hard thing to do, yeah. But I feel like there's a bit of both sides, and I feel like that issue is a very small issue, in my opinion. I feel like there's greater things to worry about, like becoming more aware as a species and learning how to work together as a species. That to me is important. Turkey, who's here? Turkey says somebody's here. Listen, let me go see if Archie is streaming, and then I'm gonna go raid him with my Twitch streamers, my Twitch viewers, if he is streaming already. Let me go look. And then I will probably be going to bed now because it's almost midnight and it's actually way past my bedtime. I just had like a weird spur of creative energy, so I finished this. That's actually why I was here. I finished that. Archie's new logo. I'm gonna be back at the comments in a section. Yes, he is. Okay, I'm gonna go raid him. Woohoo! Was very nice meeting you, and I'm off also. You must also have a good time, good one. Hopefully see you again in the future. Yeah, I'll be here. Okay, let me end this. Thank you for watching, everyone.